Gunman shoots, rob Vredenhoop Cambio dealer. One dead, another critical after Providence smash-up. City Council evicts border market vendors. PSC presses for establishment of public procurement integrity commissions. NCN under pressure to reinstate editor news anchor. And expired goods seized in New Amsterdam. Good evening, I'm Edward Lane with this edition of the Evening News. We begin tonight by telling you that a Cambio dealer is currently battling for his life at the Woodlands Hospital after he was shot to his abdomen during a robbery early this morning at the Stabroek end of the busy Georgetown-Vredenhoop crossing. Kizzy Coleman reports.
The man has been identified as Mohendra Dionarine, 40, of Porgerine, Vredenhoop, West Coast, Demerara. The incident occurred at around 9:30 hours on Tuesday during the rush hour at the Georgetown-Vredenhoop crossing. According to reports the Evening News received, the man was returning home after transacting business when he was attacked. Reports are that the man was carrying a bag with a quantity of cash when a lone gunman walked up to him, whipped out a gun and shot him before carting off with the bag. An eyewitness relayed to this newscast what occurred.
I just saw the man walk up, just see the Indian guy. I don't really see the next guy who shoot him on a hat or something, and he walked up to the gunman and shoot him until he passed the bag, and he picked up, take the bag and he run. This obviously.
Reports are that the man was picked up by public-spirited persons and was rushed to the Woodland Hospital emergency room. Policemen reportedly gave chase but were unsuccessful in arresting the perpetrator. According to eyewitnesses, the entire incident took less than a minute to unfold. Eyewitnesses could not give a full description of the man who they said had a scab in his face, only to say that he was of African descent. When this newscast visited the distraught family members of the victim, they were in shock and refused to speak. Dionarine is said to be the eldest of 3 children and is also a father. Reporting for the Evening News, Kizzy Coleman.
A man is now dead and another is in critical condition at the Georgetown Public Hospital following a two-vehicle collision at Providence, East Bank, Demerara. The dead man was identified as Danraj Daturam, 51, of Lot 146 Martian Street, Annandale, East Coast, Demerara, while the injured man is yet to be identified. However, it was reported that both men reside at the same address. According to reports reaching the Evening News, the accident occurred at about 4 hours 30. Evening News understands that one of the trucks was traveling along the East Bank Highway when it collided head-on with the other vehicle, which was parked a short distance from the National Stadium, Providence. The deceased and the injured were in the parked truck at the time of the accident. Police are continuing their investigations. Police are on the verge of cracking yet another murder case as the nephew of Anita Mohan, whose battered body was found on the floor of her kitchen on Sunday, has confessed to the crime. More in this report.
Mohan's body was found lying in a pool of blood on the floor of her kitchen in her lot 315 5th Street Cummins Lodge home, with her head bashed in and a stab wound to her chest. A bloody rolling pin suspected to be one of the murder weapons was found in close proximity, as well as a broken beer bottle. Acting Crime Chief Hugh Jessamy, when contacted, told the Evening News that the young man has confessed to the murder while admitting that another person acted as his accomplice. The murder, according to Jessamy, might have stemmed from a robbery. The crime chief noted that detectives revisited the murder scene on Monday to conduct further investigations. It is believed that after committing the heinous act, the now dead woman's nephew, who is called Chucky, might have washed the blood from his clothes. A wet pair of 3/4 pants was found in the washing area, the same pants he was believed to have been wearing during his drinking spree on the day the woman was brutally murdered. Police are hunting a second suspect, while a post-mortem examination is expected on Wednesday after the suspect is likely to be charged.
Well, vendors plying their trade outside the border market are pleading for help as the mayor and city council earlier today descended on what is regarded as the Caribbean's only drive-through market and removed the merchants without any prior notice. Details in this report.
Vendors told the Evening News that they were given no warning before the eviction, and it was a few hours into the afternoon that Town Clerk Royston King, along with city constabulary officers, showed up and ordered everyone to remove their stalls and goods vehicles.
All Mr. King and his security persons come and said there will be no selling in this place until further notice. That is all the explanation. All was said, nothing else.
Did they give you prior notice?
No notice, nothing. The man turn up there, said just turn up. Tell the security to put barricades.
The vendors complained that they've suffered hundreds of thousands in losses due to this, since most of their merchandises are perishables.
My load is finished sell. Where will I pack it? Where will I do with it? We can't sell it to them. Everything is perishable goods. Everything we got to throw away, built on this half, you can't sell it, you got to throw it away.
When I come on park to start doing my daily basic hustle, they call up the truck with me, carry me to City Hall, place me on $8,000 bail. Okay. Place me on $8,000 bail. Had the truck in the sun with all the perishable thing for like about 4 hours. There's all the planting and things like that. Look, the cassava here, I can't sell the cassava. I got to carry it back home and throw it away. I'll get blue.
The merchants highlighted that they are being subjected to injustice and they've run out of options on how to maintain their families. There was also mention of a fee that the vendors would pay on a daily basis, but the Evening News was able to understand that this fee was only a landing fee for persons to offload their goods and remove them within a specific period. When this newscast spoke to Deputy Mayor Sherrod Duncan at the scene, he disclosed that he was unaware of the situation as he himself was on a, quote, fact-finding mission, unquote. Ramona Luti reporting for the Evening News.
The Private Sector Commission is once again calling on government and the National Assembly to convene an extra parliamentary meeting to address the establishment of the Public Procurement and Integrity Commissions. Details from Alexis Rodney.
The Private Sector Commission said it is time an end be brought to the procrastination on such matters, noting that both government and the political opposition need to give effect to the promises they made for the setting up of the commissions. It said failure to do so will create an all-time lack of interest by society in politics on a whole. The PSC was speaking directly to the long delay to the setting up of the Public Procurement and Integrity Commissions. According to the PSC, there must be compromise on both sides as those commissions are not political institutions, but are rather meant to add to transparency and accountability. It said good civil society members, regardless of how they are regarded politically, should be placed under those commissions. The private sector body said a failure to establish the entities poses a threat to legitimate business activities, creates unfair business-to-business competition, and is most certainly the reason why some legitimate businesses cannot stand up to new competition. Meanwhile, the Commission also called on government to fully operationalize the Financial Intelligence Unit and to equip the entity with the necessary personnel to investigate and prosecute financial crimes. The Public Procurement Commission is usually made up of government and opposition parliamentarians and is traditionally chaired by a member of the opposition in the House. Government itself had come under fire for failing to establish the PPC, a promise it had made in its manifesto. The absence of the PPC had caused even more outrage against government, particularly because of its move to carry out a number of forensic audits at state entities across Guyana without carrying out the requisite tendering process. For the Evening News, Alexis Rodney.
Opposition Member of Parliament Irfan Ali warns that the business environment in Guyana is likely to deteriorate further in the future. More in this report.
Irfan Ali explained that based on the unenlightened actions of the government, the business and investment climate in Guyana will more likely worsen than improve. Firstly, he said the pre-election cries of Guyana being a safe haven for criminals contributed to the slump of the economy and is not appealing to decent investors who will view the climate as unattractive and extremely risky. Ali also argued that the recent announcement to screen foreign investors will also do tremendous harm to an already ailing business environment, since it adds more bureaucracy to the process. The former Commerce Minister contended also that the establishment of parallel institutions to the Guyana Police Force, like SOCU and SARA, to hunt after people, investors will be discouraged from doing business in Guyana, and it will also force existing investors out of the country. Furthermore, the parliamentarian posited that President David Granger's announcement to keep former President Forbes Burnham's vision alive is dangerous. According to Ali, Burnham was never supportive of private enterprises, and this endorsement will send worrying messages to the private sector. Reporting for the Evening News, Davina Samaru.
Coming up after the break, NCN under pressure to reinstate editor, news anchor, and expired goods seized in New Amsterdam. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Evening News. Pressure is piling on the management of the state broadcaster, the National Communications Network, to reinstate news anchor Natasha Smith, who was pulled from set because of her pregnancy, and sport editor Giselle Archibald, who was suspended for 1 month for a post on her Facebook page. Details in this report.
Scores of media practitioners, union leaders and right activists protested the NCN Homestretch Avenue headquarters on Tuesday, calling on management to reverse the two decisions viewed as violation of the basic rights of these two persons.
We believe that those actions by management are unacceptable and therefore they ought to be reversed.
To discriminate against women, and it's totally wrong. So in this case, I see that she has been targeted. 1, because she's a woman. 2, because she's pregnant.
It's wholly disheartening and disconcerting and despicable. It's an abomination. It should be condemned by all rational right-thinking Guyanese.
NCN's news anchor Natasha Smith claims that she was given directives to discontinue work on set due to her pregnancy. In a statement, Smith said she was informed by a senior manager of NCN that she would be relieved of her duties as anchor. She highlighted that it was shortly after this that she was made aware that the reason for the decision was because she was pregnant and unmarried. NCN denied that Smith was pulled from the set due to pregnancy but gave no other reason. Smith highlighted that back in 2011 she was pregnant with twins and was never pulled from air. With regards to Archibald, she was suspended for 1 month after she took to Facebook to criticize another NCN employee for asking President David Granger if he knows about Pokemon Go. However, NCN management maintained that its decision on Archibald was justified. Archibald was asked to submit a written apology, which she did, but it was deemed to be insincere. Former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Carlin Rodriguez Burkett, also of Amerindian heritage, former Education Minister Priya Manik Chan, who is one of the ministers responsible for Women's Affairs, and current Minister of Social Protection, Waldo Lawrence, all condemned the NCN management and urged the reinstatement of the two. Ramona Luti reporting for the Evening News.
Meanwhile, in a meeting with Chief Executive Office of the National Communications Network, Lennox Garnett, the Ghana Press Association said that with respect to sport editor Giselle Archibald Hawk, no changes will be made to the decision taken by the state-run entity to suspend her for 1 month without pay. According to GPA, Garnett said that this decision was arrived at due not only to her criticizing her colleague, but because of many previous infractions. In the statement regarding NCN's news anchor Natasha Smith, Garnett denied that he at any time passed the directive for her to be replaced as the anchor of the news because of her pregnancy. However, the GPA managed to secure a copy of the minutes of the August 8, 2016 management meeting, which entered on the production of a news montage. The minutes read, and I quote, "With regards to this, the CEO stated that the anchor and wardrobe should coincide with the montage. However, given the present condition of Ms. Natasha Smith, the CEO asked that a tight shot be done to remedy the view." According to the GPA, it was able to achieve the CEO's undertaking to have Smith return to the anchor chair with immediate effect. The Environmental Health Department of the New Amsterdam Municipality has seized a quantity of food items which have been deemed unsuitable for human consumption. Details in this report.
Supermarket operators and shop owners have been warned of the consequences of them being caught in the act. However, a number of supermarkets and shops in the New Amsterdam Municipality continue to vend the expired goods. Recently, the Environmental Health Department seized a quantity of expired goods from supermarkets and shops in the town, which is currently celebrating its 125th anniversary as a municipality. Among the items seized were drink mix, tomato ketchup, cake mix, chewing gum, biscuits, and beverages. Head of the department, Municipal Health Inspector Aklu Ramsud, says there is no trend as they make visits to supermarkets and shops, but from time to time, all of them have been found with expired goods being displayed for sale.
Once again, I'm appealing to the proprietors of these establishments to ensure that before you have an item displayed on your shelf, please check the date markings of it. Please check the condition of the packaging material. For example, there is some packaging material that has rodent damage, that has been stained, that the things that are dented. These are not products that is fit and proper for human consumption and should not be displayed on your shelf for sale to the consumer.
The health inspector is asking shoppers to be aware when making purchases and to scrutinize items they are purchasing.
Ensure that you understand the date markings properly. These are the production date or the expiration date. Scrutinize them, make sure that they are valid and that they are within the time specified, that the product is within the time specified, product displays within the time specified as stated on the date markings.
According to Ramsud, his team is working to rid the shelves of harmful items, but he's appalled at the callous behavior of some business persons in the township who are bent on breaking the law. They must respect themselves and the general public, Aklu says.
Well, from time to time, all the shops and supermarkets within the town, we would have find expired item. It's a situation that sometimes I think it's negligence. It's just that the proprietors have not been diligent in managing their business.
Over 200 Toshaus from across Guyana last week benefited from a partnership between Canada's Provisional Government for Alberta and the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs. Details in this report.
The partnership was organized by the High Commission of Canada in collaboration with the Office of Minister Valerie Garrido-Low, Minister within the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs. The Canadian delegation comprised of Lawrence Animo, Director of the Aboriginal Consultation Office in Alberta, and Robert Kopecki, Director of the Aboriginal Consultation Office in Alberta. Canada is world-renowned for its progress in improving the social well-being and economic prosperity of its Aboriginal people, and has made several strides in securing their participation in shaping its political, social, and economic development at community, provincial, and national levels. The visiting delegation was present at the week-long Toshaus conference, which provided them with the opportunity to better understand the local context. The delegation shared Canada's Aboriginal experience in managing natural resources for advancement of such communities. The team also presented on legislative reforms which benefits Aboriginal communities and associated consultation process with Aboriginals. There was heightened interest in Canadian experiences in negotiating impact agreements with businesses seeking to invest in Aboriginal jurisdictions. For the Evening News, Alexis Rodney.
You're watching the Evening News. More still ahead after this break. Stay with us. You're watching the Evening News. Opposition leader JAGDEO has warned of the economic impact the Partnership for National Unity Alliance for Change government's obsession with out-of-court settlement could have on Guyana. More in this report.
Attorney General and Legal Affairs Minister Basil Williams, while defending his government for coming to a multi-billion-dollar out-of-court settlement with BK International over the Hags Bosch landfill site, announced that more of these settlements were likely. However, JAGDEO at a recent press conference said quote-unquote incompetence was the reason for the government to embark on this course of action.
Incompetence and rape of the Treasury on all of these matters. And so we don't know how many other settlements are being made on a daily basis.
The former president had in the past warned the present government about setting a precedent in running too quickly to settle matters outside the court, many of which he had said the government was in a strong position to win. Earlier this year, the current administration agreed to pay BK International $5.7 million in an out-of-court settlement for the terminated contract and works completed quote-unquote satisfactorily at the landfill site. At that time, Williams had argued that the settlement was necessary since the government was fearful of losing a US $10 million lawsuit filed by the contractor. Williams has since sought to cast blame on the former government, which he said had already agreed to pay BK. Addressing this, JAGDEO dismissed the minister's claim.
That's an absolute lie, and Basil Williams knows that himself.
JAGDEO said over the past 8 months, since the issue has been in the public domain, this is the first time the government is claiming that the PPP had agreed to the settlement. Apart from the BK settlement, back in April, the APNU-AFC government agreed to a similar settlement with the Demerara Distillers Limited (DDL) over the consumption tax rate levied by the government on DDL and other beverage manufacturers.
The government has planned to establish an offshore oil and gas facility aimed at optimizing opportunities for the country in the area of petroleum exploration and production. The Ministry of Natural Resources, in a statement on Monday, said it is working in conjunction with the Ministries of Public Infrastructure and Business on the project. The ministry said that the government believes that the facility is critically needed and is part of the raft of measures intended to ensure that Guyana keeps on the right trajectory in the development of the oil and gas industry. It noted that the development of onshore infrastructure is critical to the success of the offshore oil and gas activities, and it is expected that this logistic and supply base will be able to serve the sector as a whole. Government believes that as the industry continues to evolve, early plans must be put in place to harness the synergies and benefits that will arise from this and other necessary infrastructure, including providing much needed employment to a large number of Guyanese workers. Large quantities of carcasses are left to rot at the Port Mourant market as a standoff continues to rage between Port Mourant John's NDC overseer and cleaners attached to the market. Andrew Carmichael reports.
Huge piles of garbage surround the market. Residents in the area have temporarily moved out. Sanitation workers have not been able to remove the waste, which have been left by fish vendors and other huskers who utilize the facility on Friday and Saturday. According to a source close to the market, the cleaners have been requesting equipment to do their job for the past 4 weeks, but have been told that funds were not available to make purchases. Some workers have been using their personal tools to clean the market. According to the source, one of the vendors had to purchase a bucket so that the toilet could be flushed after vendors use it. On Saturday, the workers were allegedly asked whether they wanted their August salaries, which they are still to collect, or tools, since money was not available for both. According to the source, the workers were only requesting rakes, which cost $2,000. Meanwhile, the stench has forced many out of the area. Rishi Ramdial says the current situation is making it uncomfortable for residents.
It smells bad. People got like the wind and everything. You disturb me in the office and so.
So that you know the thing smells very bad. And then I come for clean the market. It's not forcing it several times. I have complained to them about this market back here, so. And it smells very bad. Ring this so, the whole place back, the thing affect you very bad back here, so.
Residents say a few weeks ago a similar situation existed, which resulted in the Port Mourant NIS office being closed for 2 days and staff operating from the New Amsterdam office. Angela Nieuwenkirk is a caretaker of a church next to the market. She says the stench has affected church attendance on Sundays.
So they're trying to tell you, there's Friday night garbage. And there's a garbage and I'm going to wait until they're ready for move it.
And that's still when?
Wednesday, Thursday. Then they just come and move it. I like yesterday, the trucking come, there's foul feather and blood and guts and everything out there.
Meanwhile, the NDC has been collecting $10,000 from vendors weekly for the use of the sanitary facility. That money should be used for the welfare of the market. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, Sanitary ordered that the market be closed until further notice. For the Evening News, Andrew Carmichael.
We now take a look at what is happening inside the courts with Renella Bourne.
Kevon Ganga, Marlon Ganga, Damian Ganga, and Yui Joseph of Putaro Siparuni Region 8 appeared before Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan at the Georgetown Magistrates Court on a charge of theft. It was alleged that the quartet between September 3 to the 6, 2016 stole welding rods, gravel pump, mining hoses, and the land dredge amounting to $695,000 belonging to Kerry Ambrose. Initially, the 4 men pleaded guilty with explanation, but after Chief Magistrate McLennan listened to the men, a not guilty plea was entered. The unrepresented defendants told the court that the items were given to them by the virtual complainant in return of moving a dredge for him. The 4 men were granted bail in the sum of $30,000 each, and the matter was transferred to Madhya Magistrate Court for October 17, 2016. Additionally, Orlando Class was sentenced to 18 months in prison after he was found guilty of robbery by Magistrate Dillon Bess in the Georgetown Magistrates Court. Class pleaded guilty to the charge, which stated that on September 2, 2016, at Wellington Street, he robbed Dennis Griffith of $75,000 in cash.
The prosecution facts revealed that on the day in question, the virtual complainant visited Scotia Bank on Robb Street, and moments after she withdrew her money, the accused came and grabbed it out of her hand. Finally, in the courts, Roberto Higgins and a 14-year-old also appeared before Magistrate McLennan on a charge of simple larceny. The duo pleaded guilty to the charge, which stated that on Saturday, September 3, 2016, they stole one all-terrain vehicle valued $3.2 million, property of Edna De Jesus De Santos. They were placed on $50,000 bail and will return to court on November 2, 2016.
Meanwhile, a 16-year-old boy and his accomplice, Mark Ruffino, 23, who shot and robbed a Henrietta Essequibo Coast barber, were on Tuesday remanded by Magistrate Sunil Skars when they appeared in the Anne Regina Magistrates Court to answer to a charge of attempted murder. The teenager was remanded to a juvenile holding facility, while Ruffino was sent to the Camp Street prisons and will return to court on September 27, 2016. The duo was not required to plead to the indictable charge, which stated that on September 3, 2016 at Henrietta Essequibo Coast, with intent to commit murder, they unlawfully and maliciously wounded Dale Troy Hercules. At about 3 hours on Sunday, Hercules, 42, was shot several times by two gunmen who carted off with over $3.5 million in jewelry he was wearing at the time. Two men attempted to flee but were later captured and confessed to the crime. Hercules remains a patient in the intensive care unit of the Saudi Public Hospital. Meanwhile, the teenager is also before the courts for a gold chain worth $300,000, which he stole from a child, while Ruffino is known to the police. Join us after the break for your regional and international news. Stay with us.